Welcome back. So we're on day 3. We'll go ahead and start kind of where we left off in video 2. We were kind of coming in and out of a downward facing dog. So go ahead and come on down to the mat and just set up the hands again once more, pushing down into all 4 corners of the hands, pushing down into the fingertips. And then again, just that internal rotation of the arms here. And then we'll start to curl the toes and lift the hips, coming into downward facing dog. And so if you're just starting this video and not adding on with the others, that's okay. Just take some time here though to just really loosen up when we come back to walking the dog here, just bending into one knee and then the other. And notice how the hamstrings feel here. If they feel pretty tight, just go ahead and bend into the knees. Get your hips up a little higher so you start to feel this maybe in the low back. Just starting out, it's going to feel like a lot in the arms and in the legs. So just be mindful of that. We're all going to feel the poses different. Go ahead and just drop down to the knees here. And I'll kind of just give you a little brief. So kind of just let you know where we'll be headed. So this video is about balance. So we're trying to find where we are in the posture. So if we are just beginning, it's kind of knowing where we can modify to make the pose more comfortable. And then as we progress and we're practicing more, knowing how we can put a little bit more effort into the postures as well. So with that being said, we'll just kind of go through a little bit of a flow, kind of just modifying here and there and just noticing how you feel in your body. And again, just keeping in mind the first and second video. So we're always being mindful of the breath, and then we're also keeping in mind body awareness as well. So when you're ready, let's go ahead and come into our tabletop once more. Curl the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Start to notice the breath. You're taking a nice deep inhale through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. And then start to look at the top of the mat. And we'll start to walk to meet our hands. So it might just take a couple steps to get there, a few steps to get there, however many it takes. We're going to come into a forward fold. And so we're going to drop the head here, let the head and neck hang loose. And so right away, again, we're kind of coming back to those hamstrings. If they feel tight, bend the knees. So we know that's a good modification anytime we're feeling a little extra pull back here. And then as you start to get through your practice, start to straighten those legs out. So again, just taking your time here, finding that push and pull, the difference between effort and ease. And then from here, let's go inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, we'll find our forward fold. From our forward fold, let's go ahead and plant the hands. So if you can't get the hands flat onto the mat, I would just suggest bending your knees so that you can. Okay, and then we'll just start to step back with the right foot. I'm just coming into a high lunge. So pushing back through your right heel, and just noticing how this feels. And an option here is to drop the right knee down. Just pausing here. If you do have a couple blocks, not required, or a couple books, you can always place your hands there. Not everybody has all of the things at home, so I like to show without. But we're just kind of starting to warm up through the hips, making sure the knee is stacking over the ankle. So in no posture, no asana, you're not going to want the knee going over the ankle necessarily. Okay? And always maybe checking on that. One more breath here. You start to curl the right toes under if you dropped your knee down. We'll pick the knee back up. Let's plant the hands and we'll just step it back, downward facing dog. Coming back to the breath. And on an inhale, let's look at the top of the mat. Let's go ahead and step to meet our hands. Again, it can take as many steps as it needs to. We'll come into a forward fold. Maybe right away you're feeling the back of the hamstrings loosening up a little bit. You can fold a little deeper. Just make sure to drop the head here. Maybe shake it side to side. And again, we'll try to get those hands flat as we step back. So maybe bend into the knees a little bit, and we'll step back with the left foot this time. So coming into our high lunge. Again, different modifications here. This might feel pretty good, pushing back through the heel. You just want to hang out right here. Maybe dropping the knee down, best serves you. So whenever you're in a posture, just making sure you can still breathe. It's a good indicator if it's keeping you from having a nice in and out breath, then maybe it means just to take it back a notch. Take a modification, grab some blocks. I use blocks a lot in my practice and in my group classes as well. It doesn't mean that you're any less capable, it just sometimes we need a little support. So let's take one more breath here. Go ahead and curl the toes under, and we'll just step back into our downward facing dog, taking a breath. And again, if those downward facing dogs get pretty intense, because they might, drop it down to a child's pose. Take a breath here. You can always take it out of the arms. And so for me, I tend to do knees wide for my child's pose. But for some people, that's a little bit too much on the hips. You can always bring the knees together and sit back like this. So again, just kind of playing around with different options. There's so many asanas in yoga, and that's why it is a practice that a lot of people can access in their body and what feels best to them. So we'll come back into our downward facing dog. We'll curl the toes and lift the hips. We'll come into just a couple standing postures. And from here, let's again look at the top of the mat. We'll step to meet the hands, coming into our forward fold. So we'll plant the hands, we'll step the right foot back. And then this time we're gonna come into a crescent pose. So it's similar to the high lunge, except we're gonna come up. So opportunity, you can always drop this right knee down, and I'll show this option first. Okay. Or curl the right toes under. This is going to take a little bit more balance here. So if you'd like, you can always take this right foot out a little bit. That's going to help balance. But when you're ready, really root down and then rise up. It's going to take a little engagement of the core. Okay, so anytime you come into a balancing posture, you're going to be engaging the core. So just a little food for thought there, just something to keep in mind. And so bending into the left knee, again, making sure the knee is not tracking over the ankle, pushing back through the right heel. And then here with the arms, I would just try to relax the sides of the neck. That tends to kind of help over the shoulders, away from the ears. And the modification here for the arms, you can always just cactus them out. Sometimes keeping the arms overhead is pretty intense on the shoulders. Another option is just to take the arms out of it altogether. So we always want to be kind of challenging ourselves. We also want to know how we can just settle into a posture so that it best serves our body. One more breath here. On an exhale, we'll go ahead and just take the arms down and we'll just step it back into our downward facing dog. We'll be taking a nice deep inhale through the nose. Exhale it out through the mouth. Inhale, let's look at the top of the mat. Maybe step with your opposite foot you've been stepping with. So for me, that's the right. Maybe for you, that's the left. Don't ever think it. Just try to switch it up. Coming into your forward fold. And then we'll drop the hands. And we'll step the left foot back this time. So again, you've got your options here. We're back into that high lunge. So we're either coming straight up into our crescent pose, or we're still kind of working on balance. Maybe we're not quite ready to come into the full asana. You can find a little modified crescent. Okay, we're coming into full crescent though. Go ahead and curl the toes. Find your balance, root to rise. Inhale, reach it up. With every inhale, we're just trying to create some more space in the body. With every exhale, see if you can kind of settle into that space. And finding the effort and the ease. Noticing the breath, maybe coming back to the intention that you started the class with. One more breath here. And on an exhale, we'll take it down. Step it back, downward facing dog. Take a breath. And drop it down to the knees, big toes to touch, or draw the knees together. So your choice here, what kind of child's pose would you like to come into? So just dropping the head, we'll just come back to the breath. And then we'll just call that good for this video. The next video we'll go into beat. So that's just the tempo. It's how fast or slow that you want to make your practice. So for some people, a slower practice just really isn't their jam. So I'll just show you how you can add more movement, pick up the pace. So it's all just kind of designed to find a practice that is best suited for your body, but we're also still building on all the core values of what yoga is. So stay tuned, and I'll see you tomorrow.